Do you want to improve your English and learn history at the same time? In this video, we explore the life of Harry S. Truman, his rise to power, and his impact on the world. This video is designed to help you enhance your vocabulary, pronunciation, and comprehension skills while learning about one of the most controversial figures in history. Whether you're a student, a history enthusiast, or someone eager to improve their English fluency, this video has something valuable for you. Don't miss the chance to expand your knowledge and boost your English. Biography of Harry S. Truman. Chapter 1. Early Life. Harry S. Truman was born on May 8, 1884, in Lamar, Missouri. He was the eldest of 3 children in the Truman family. His parents were John Anderson Truman and Martha Ellen Young Truman. Harry's early years were spent on a small farm in Missouri, and the family struggled with finances. His father worked as a farmer and a merchant, but their life was far from easy. As a boy, Truman was known for his love of reading and history, which influenced his later decisions in life. Truman attended a local school in Lamar, but struggled with his studies, especially in mathematics. He did not attend college, as his family couldn't afford it. Instead, he worked on the family farm and helped his parents with household duties. His determination and hard work were evident even in his youth, and he developed a strong sense of responsibility that stayed with him throughout his life. In 1905, Truman moved to Kansas City, where he worked various jobs to support himself. He worked in a bank, as a clerk, and even as a timekeeper for a railroad company. These jobs taught him valuable lessons about leadership, responsibility, and the working class, which would later shape his political career. In 1919, Truman married Bess Wallace, and they had one daughter, Margaret. Chapter 2. Military Service and Politics. During World War I, Harry S. Truman enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1917. He served as a captain in the Artillery Division and was stationed in France. Truman's leadership skills stood out during the war, and he became well respected by his fellow soldiers. After the war, Truman returned to Missouri and entered local politics. His experience in the military gave him a strong sense of discipline and leadership, which helped him later in his political career. Truman's first major political role was as a judge in Jackson County, Missouri in 1926. He worked hard to improve the county's roads and public services. His honesty and integrity earned him the nickname, "the man who gets things done." Truman's success as a judge caught the attention of political leaders in Missouri, and in 1934, he was elected to the U.S. Senate. As a senator, Truman focused on issues such as civil rights, military preparedness, and helping the working class. He became known for his straightforward style and his commitment to fighting corruption. In 1940, Truman was re-elected to the Senate, and he continued to work on various reforms, gaining the respect of his peers in Washington. Chapter 3. Becoming Vice President. In 1944, President Franklin D. Roosevelt was running for a 4th term in office. As Roosevelt's health was declining, the Democratic Party selected Harry S. Truman as the vice presidential candidate. Truman was chosen partly because of his reputation for honesty and hard work, and his ability to appeal to both the working class and party leaders. Truman campaigned for vice president in 1944 and won the election. He was sworn in as vice president on January 20th, 1945, just a few months before Roosevelt's death. Truman's time as vice president was brief, as he served in the position for only 82 days. However, during this short period, he worked closely with Roosevelt on key issues, including the war in Europe and the Pacific. Truman's time in the vice presidency was largely uneventful, but it prepared him for the leadership role that would soon fall to him. On April 12, 1945, Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away suddenly, and Harry S. Truman became the 33rd President of the United States. This marked the beginning of Truman's presidency, which would prove to be one of the most challenging and consequential in U.S. history. Chapter 4: The End of World War II. When Truman became president, World War II was still raging in Europe and the Pacific. One of his first major decisions as president was to continue the war effort, which had been led by Roosevelt. Truman was determined to win the war and bring it to a swift conclusion. In May 1945, Nazi Germany surrendered, marking the end of the war in Europe. However, the war in the Pacific continued, with Japan refusing to surrender. Truman faced the difficult decision of how to bring the war to an end. After consulting with his advisors, he authorized the use of atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The bombings led to Japan's surrender, effectively ending World War II. The use of atomic bombs remains one of the most controversial decisions of Truman's presidency. Truman's decision to drop the bombs was not without criticism, but he believed it was necessary to save lives and end the war quickly. The end of World War II marked a major turning point in global history, and Truman's leadership played a critical role in bringing about peace. Chapter 5: Post-War Challenge. After the end of World War II, Truman faced the difficult task of rebuilding a world that had been devastated by the conflict. The United States emerged as a global superpower, and Truman sought to establish a new world order based on peace and cooperation. He believed that the U.S. should take a leading role in rebuilding Europe and Asia and promoting democracy. One of Truman's most significant initiatives was the Marshall Plan, named after his Secretary of State, George Marshall. The plan provided billions of dollars in aid to European countries to help them rebuild after the war. This aid was essential in preventing the spread of communism and stabilizing the economies of Europe. At the same time, Truman had to deal with rising tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. The two countries had been allies during the war, but differences in ideology and geopolitics led to the Cold War, a period of rivalry and tension between the two superpowers. Truman adopted a policy of containment, seeking to prevent the spread of communism and supporting countries threatened by communist expansion. Chapter 6: The Korean War. In 1950, Truman faced another major challenge when the Korean War broke out. North Korea, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea, and Truman quickly decided to send American troops to defend the South. The conflict soon became a major Cold War confrontation, with UN forces led by the United States fighting against communist forces in Korea. The Korean War was a difficult and costly conflict for the United States. Truman faced criticism for his handling of the war, especially after General Douglas MacArthur, the UN commander in Korea, was relieved of his duties for publicly disagreeing with Truman's policies. Despite the challenges, Truman remained committed to containing the spread of communism. The war ended in 1953, with the Korean peninsula remaining divided into North and South Korea. The conflict solidified the US commitment to containing communism, but it also marked the beginning of a long series of Cold War conflicts that would last for decades. Chapter 7: Domestic Policies and the Fair Deal. Throughout his presidency, Truman worked to improve the lives of ordinary Americans. He proposed a set of domestic policies known as the Fair Deal, which aimed to expand social programs, improve civil rights, and raise the standard of living for all Americans. The Fair Deal included initiatives such as national health insurance, the expansion of Social Security, and the construction of public housing. Truman also fought for civil rights for African Americans. He desegregated the US military and took steps to ensure equal rights in federal employment. However, many of his proposals were blocked by Congress, and his domestic agenda faced significant opposition from conservative lawmakers. Despite the challenges, Truman's domestic policies laid the foundation for future reforms in the 1960s and beyond. His commitment to civil rights and social welfare programs remains one of the key aspects of his legacy. Chapter 8: The 1948 Election. In 1948, Truman faced a tough re-election battle against Republican Thomas Dewey. Many political analysts predicted that Truman would lose, but he ran a vigorous campaign, traveling across the country and rallying support from working-class Americans. His campaign slogan, "Give 'em hell, Harry," has captured his fighting spirit and resonated with voters. Despite the odds, Truman won the 1948 election in a stunning upset. His victory was one of the most surprising in American history, and it solidified his place as one of the great American presidents. Truman's victory was a testament to his leadership and his ability to connect with the American people. Truman's second term was marked by continued efforts to fight communism, support civil rights, and improve the economy. He worked to strengthen the United States' position in the world and expand the country's role in international affairs. Chapter 9: Legacy and Controversy. Harry S. Truman's presidency is remembered for his strong leadership during a time of great global change. He made difficult decisions, such as using atomic bombs to end World War II and leading the US during the early years of the Cold War. Truman's domestic policies, including the Fair Deal, helped lay the foundation for social welfare programs that continue to benefit Americans today. However, Truman's decisions were not without controversy. The use of atomic bombs in Japan, his handling of the Korean War, and his opposition to civil rights reforms drew criticism during his presidency. Over time, however, historians have come to view Truman's leadership as both bold and effective in navigating the challenges of his time. Truman's legacy is one of determination, resilience, and a commitment to doing what he believed was best for his country. He is often ranked among the top US presidents for his leadership during some of the most turbulent years in American history. Chapter 10: The End of Truman's Presidency. Harry S. Truman decided not to run for a third term in 1952. He stepped down as president on January 20th, 1953, and was succeeded by Dwight D. Eisenhower. Truman's post-presidential years were spent in Independence, Missouri, where he lived quietly with his wife, Bess. He continued to write and speak about political issues, and was often consulted by leaders on matters of statecraft. Truman passed away on December 26, 1972, at the age of 88. His death marked the end of an era in American politics, but his contributions to the nation continued to be remembered. Truman remains one of the most respected figures in American history, known for his courage, honesty, and dedication to public service. Today, Truman is remembered for his leadership during World War II and the early years of the Cold War, as well as for his domestic policies that helped improve the lives of millions of Americans. His presidency continues to inspire those who seek to serve their country with integrity and conviction.